This
talking about
conference will now be recorded.
we're not being recorded. I'm going to start by talking a
I'm
little
sorry, I
bit
don't know why that was so delayed.
no problem. So I'm going to talk a little bit about homeschooling law in New Jersey first. The laws vary from state to state in terms of homeschooling. And to the surprise of a lot of people, New Jersey has one of the most relaxed and flexible homeschooling laws in the country. Um, just kind of hit some of the highlights here. First of all, in New Jersey, schooling, the mandatory schooling age starts at 6. So if you have a child who's younger than 6, there's no need to do anything. You can just kind of live your life. The legal requirements in New Jersey are that kids between the ages of 6 and 16 are either attending school or homeschooling or going to a private school. And we're going to send out a resource page with a link to the New Jersey government, like sort of homeschooling law at the end of this presentation. So a couple of things about the law for homeschooling is that you really only need to notify the public schools if you're removing a child from public school. If you intend to homeschool from the very beginning, and they have not been to a public school yet, there's no need to notify anyone or register as a homeschooler. This is very much different than, say, in Pennsylvania where I live, where you do need to register every year. But if you already have started school in a public school, to start homeschooling, you just need to send a letter to the superintendent or the principal if you're leaving a public school. Or a lot of times, families we work with will just go in person and let them know they'll be homeschooling. And so generally the schools will treat it almost just like you're transferring a school. So they might have like a form for you to fill out if you have any materials, like if you have a laptop or something from them or a Chromebook, you might need to turn that back in. But then essentially they're just going to like transfer you out to homeschooling, and that's about it. And this is the sort of surprising part, is that once you become a homeschooler in New Jersey, it really is the last sort of interaction that you have with the state around educational matters. So, for instance, there's no testing requirements of homeschoolers in New Jersey, and you have freedom to choose whatever curriculum or program that you would like to use. In some states like Pennsylvania, again, you're required to keep portfolios and do a whole bunch of things as homeschoolers. In New Jersey, that's not the case. So there's no portfolios that you need to keep. Like I said, no state tests. There's no letters of intent to homeschool every year that you need to do. There's no meetings required, with the state of New Jersey or your local school district. And so on the one side of that, that is, really advantageous for homeschoolers. On the flip side of that, and this sort of freedom, educational freedom that comes in New Jersey with homeschooling, comes with basically that the state, once you are signed out as a homeschooler, they're kind of like, yep, that's it. We're kind of done supporting the educational path you're on, and so state agencies pretty much stay out of homeschooling affairs, but also homeschoolers don't receive say tax credits or help from the public school system. There's no stipends, there's no free materials, there's no transportation help. There's no obligation on the part of the school districts to provide special education services, even if you had been eligible and receiving those when you're in school. You can request services. Districts, reserve the right to decline. Also, along with that, participation in school activities are limited. So, we have heard of some school districts allowing homeschoolers to, like, say, play on a sports team or some after school activity. But again, it is up to each district to decide. Our experience has been, largely they tend to decline. Homeschoolers participating, although some certainly have. All right, so those are kind of the basics. I'll pause there. I'm going to turn it over to Heather. She's going to talk a little bit about various approaches to homeschooling resources, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit about paths forward after homeschooling.
Thanks, Joel. A little background on me. I began homeschooling my oldest after she finished second grade, and my two younger children naturally came along for the ride. So now, after having homeschooled for over a decade, each of my children have moved on to various different things. My oldest is in her second year of college, and my middle and youngest are now at my local high school. I've experienced homeschooling with several different personalities, needs, and goals, and I do love where it's brought us. My hope is that what I share will help inspire you and give you some practical tools. Step one, before you leap into homeschooling, try not to choose homeschooling from a place of panic or fear. Take a little time to explore. There's no rush. And there are a lot of options for getting a fantastic education. Homeschooling is just one of them. Once you're ready to begin homeschooling, one of the first steps you'll hear a lot about in different groups is something called deschooling. It's basically a reset period, time for both you and your child to adjust to life without the expectations of a traditional school. It's also a time to rediscover the joy in learning. A common guideline is about 1 month of deschooling for every year your child was in school. So that means a child who's never gone to school can usually jump right in. A first grader might need a month or two, and a seventh grader might need 7 or 8 months to really unwind. And during that time, you can start exploring what your days might look like, what learning approaches appeal to your family. And Liz will post the link in the chat with some more information about deschooling and what that can look like. Some educational approaches. Homeschooling is not one size fits all. And so your approach might change over time, and that's really fine. Here are a few that you might hear around. Traditional is more of the school at home with textbooks, workbooks, grades, and schedules. Classical is similar to traditional, but with a focus on logic, debate, and classical literature. You might hear Charlotte Mason, and you can look deeper into that. But basically, it's literature rich, nature study, art, gentle methods. And one that's pretty common is eclectic, just getting out there. It's a mix of methods. Maybe you'll incorporate some nature learning, a little online math, some audiobooks, some hands on science, that type of thing. You might hear self directed learning. Students drive their own education, they follow their interests with some guidance and access to resources. And then unschooling. It's no set curriculum. Learning happens through life and is based also on the child's interests. You're allowed to try one style and switch. The key is finding what aligns with your family's values and with the child's needs. So in the chat, Liz will also add another link to a fun resource that can help you narrow down your homeschooling style. It's a quiz. It's a homeschool style quiz. It's pretty fun and might kind of narrow things down for you. So everyone worries about curriculum and resources when they're just getting started. You'll be amazed at how many resources are out there once you start looking. So libraries are honestly one of my favorite resources, and they're homeschoolers' favorite. They sometimes can feel like our own exclusive club because a lot of homeschoolers gather at libraries and have a great time. We use all of their resources. The interlibrary loan feature across our state means that you can get your hands on pretty much any book that you want. Libraries also offer free online courses, tutoring help, language apps, audiobooks. I I take a lot of advantage of the audiobooks. I think I've listened to 30 books in the last 10 months. Local resources, museums, science centers, historical sites, even the Apple Store and Microsoft Store have classes. There are art studios and community events. They're all fantastic places to meet other homeschoolers. Spend a day learning new things. Since you're home during the day, you can take advantage of less crowded venues. We used to catch early showings of plays and musicals, and New Jersey is also just full of history and fantastic science resources. So, one hint, Sandy Hook Beach, they have the New Jersey Sea Grant, so include that link. Liz will put that in the chat. We used to go to tons of field trips, very low cost. You get into the ocean with the kids. They're really fantastic and educational, field trips. So lots of stuff to do in New Jersey. Online, the internet is full of anything and everything you might want to know. Some popular places to look for help are Facebook groups. You can find co-ops, hiking groups, and I think most helpfully is finding like-minded friends. Virtual classes, there's OutSchool and Harvard and even MIT put their classes out. Um, there are specialized websites for pretty much every subject imaginable. And if the need arises, there are even online schools where you just log in and every subject is covered for the day. Having a community really matters as a homeschooler. I think homeschooling doesn't mean doing it all alone. Finding your people is one of the most valuable things I think you can do. And places you might find these nice connections, co-ops, hiking clubs. There are farm-based learning programs here in New Jersey that are really fantastic. Dance, martial arts classes, art classes. There are drop-off learning communities, Princeton Learning Cooperative, Raritan Learning Cooperative. If you're up north, there's Mosaic Free School and a bunch of others. Um, as we get into the older years, the teen years sound scary, but they can be the most exciting part of homeschooling. Instead of narrowing down opportunities, homeschooling for high school can actually open doors. There are a lot of possible paths for high school students, and a couple of popular choices are educational communities that offer structured classes, peer time, and mentorship, co ops, and things like that. Community college and dual enrollment is huge with homeschoolers. You can earn college credit and meet your high school requirements at the same time by using the resources at the community college. Another resource is the College Level Examination Program, or CLEP, which offers exams and online courses to test out of subjects or earn credits from home. There are also a multitude of certifications and internships that align with learning and career interests. So no matter what path you take, you'll need to keep a transcript, and as the parent, you're the official record keeper. So I'll have Liz include two links in the chat that will offer more detailed info about homeschooling high school, how to keep a transcript, and also you're always welcome to reach out to me and Joel. We'll be happy to help. Um, Not too long ago, while having one of these talks in person, I met a parent who said that they appreciated all the info, um, but wanted an idea of what a day in the life of a homeschooler was like. So I'll give you a quick outline. Um, Two homeschooling days look exactly alike. Here's a short idea of what some of those days might look like. Before sixth grade in the elementary years, it was a lot of hands on learning, play, nature walks, field trips, reading together, and time with friends. Once we got to middle school, that's when things got a little bit more interesting. We had a mix of independent work, interest based projects, and group activities. My oldest daughter's middle school days often included math on Khan Academy, archery practice, digital art classes, and a lot of science through homeschool co ops. My middle child was a ballet dancer. She spent a lot of hours at practice. And so we used Khan Academy for some of her core subjects. And then she spent a lot of time with friends at co op. And my youngest spent his middle school years at Princeton Learning Cooperative, where he had a fantastic mentor who wasn't me. And he joined the house band and made movies in his film production class and had a really incredible group of friends. When you get to high school, your student might spend their morning in a chemistry class at the community college, an afternoon of independent study, a few hours at a job, time with friends. While another high schooler might spend their morning like at a vocational and technical school, and their afternoon finishing up some requirements online. Homeschool is flexible, it's personal, and it's rewarding. So for the student and I think for the whole family, you get to design an education and a life that fits your child and not the other way around. When you do, often learning becomes joyful again. I'm always happy to answer questions and connect you with resources or just talk through ideas. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the Q&A. I'm also including a link to a page of resources that I've gathered and found helpful. And I think now Joel will discuss what happens after homeschool.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. Yeah, so one of the big questions that we get a lot from families that we work with is just like, if the kids aren't going to traditional school, like, can you still do all the things that they want to do afterwards? Does it close any doors? And so the big thing, if you take anything away from today, I mean, the big picture here is that everything you ever hoped and dreamed for your kids, everything your kids ever wanted for themselves, is still possible if you homeschool, right? You're not closing any doors. And a lot of people are afraid that if they don't take sort of the conventional educational path, that they're putting their kids at a disadvantage, which is just not true. And so one of the really nice things about homeschooling is that everything that they do counts. And what I mean by that is that you can just have a meaningful, enriching life for your young person, for your child, for your family, and all of that can, quote unquote, count towards your education. And we'll talk a little bit about how to, kind of keep track of all that and turn it into, like a transcript that you would use for applying to college or whatever else you might need it for. And so what this means is that you can use all the resources in the community, like Heather mentioned a couple of them. Local museums, other places that have classes, arts councils, the community colleges. You can just use everything that's around. And obviously now, since COVID, even there's more things online as well. So you can just do things that are meaningful, interesting, are going to help you get to the thing you want to do next in your life, and you can just kind of keep track of it as you go. And homeschooling is a path to everything that you could want, right? And so we'll, I think, put a link into a guide about, it's called, that we have on our website, called College Without High School. And one of the things that is linked in there is like just a sample of what a transcript can look like for a homeschooler who's, let's say, applying directly to a 4-year school. And so it doesn't need to be, super fancy. Most of the ones that we help young people put together and families put together is just, essentially like a Google Doc, where we're just like listing out the classes that they do. And for a lot of colleges, they really appreciate like a narrative transcript. And so, because if you're doing a whole bunch of different things, let's just take like English 9 or something like that, some class that you would have on a high school transcript. It might be a collection of things. It might be a once a week class at a local homeschooling co-op. It might be doing some self-study or some writing or reading books on your own. It might be going to see shows at the local theater or in New York. It could be participating in the teen writer group at the local library. It can just be a whole bunch of things. And you can sort of, quote unquote, put into school terms, like claim that as an English credit. And then the narrative would just be like, this is how we studied English my 9th grade year, took these classes, did these things, read these books, did this writing, and so on and so forth. So it can just be, doing things that you find meaningful and useful, and just kind of keeping track. And there's a gazillion, transcript templates that you can find online that are, cheap and free a lot of times. And so one of the other big questions we get in, sort of homeschooling, sort of the steps after, the high school age, is like, well, what about, like high school diplomas? And New Jersey, again, it's an interesting situation, because the homeschooling laws are so open. There is no sort of like state path to getting like a diploma from the state for homeschooling. And so there's a bunch of different ways that homeschooling families will do this. So the one that, a lot of people were just like, really, you can just do this? You can just self-certify yourself being done with high school. Essentially, you can graduate yourself, right? And I've seen, families like literally, like if you Google like diplomas, there's like example diplomas. You can just fill one out and sign it, right? And a lot of our families, like particularly if they're coming, from school, they've been in school for a long time and they just started homeschooling, it almost feels like they're cheating. Like, what, we can just do that? It doesn't quite, whatever. So there's a couple other ways that some of the families we know will do this. So you can always take like one of the equivalency tests, if you've heard of like the GED. And again, you're not really no one's impressed really by a high school diploma or a GED. It's more just like to sort of check the box, and then you put it in a drawer and you probably don't look at it again. One of the other more interesting ways that New Jersey allows or provides for diplomas for homeschoolers, something called a 30 credit option. And what this is essentially if you take 30 hours of college level classes, sort of in like a liberal arts spread, and then you send those into the state, they will send you a New Jersey high school diploma. And that's stuff that some of our kids that we've worked with at PLC have started taking community college classes at 16, 17, and so by the time they're 18 or 19, they've got enough credits where they're already in college, but they just send them into the state, and they'll send you a diploma. One of the other things that sort of paths forward. We're spending a lot of time in college here. I'll talk about some other things in a second. Is that the community colleges have a lot of what are called articulation agreements with 4-year schools in the state. So a lot of the kids, not a lot, some of the kids that we've worked with will start community college and high school, like it well enough, and maybe stick around for an associate's degree, there, like a 2-year degree, and then transfer those credits to like 4-year school, like Rutgers or something. And the nice thing about that is, like, all your credits transfer, you sort of get admission to it, and a lot of the pretty typical high school stresses, SATs and testing and all this GPA, all this kind of stuff. It's largely based, it's just based on your college work, and so it's a nice thing that some of the kids can utilize. The other thing that's really nice, as a homeschooler, if say college is not the path that's right for a young person, is that the local vocational high schools and trade schools are available to homeschoolers as well. So you can actually attend for the vocational side. Those are usually half-day programs, like just a morning or just an afternoon. And so, like, for instance, one of the young men I worked with a while back was in the diesel mechanics program at Mercer, technical high school. He would do that in the morning, and then come to PLC and do his academic portion as a homeschooler. And so you can kind of blend that, which is nice, and it's public school. There's no tuition. You can just do that for free as a homeschooler. Some of the I don't know, we should mention, it's just hilarious. So there's a couple vocations that you actually need a high school diploma for. It's not brain surgeon, it's not rocket scientist, it's mortician and cosmetology. Those are only two that you actually need like a GED or a high school diploma in New Jersey. Don't ask me why. So if you're going into that, that's something to look at. And actually, we had a girl who went into mortuary science a number of years ago and used that 30 credit hours because they had been doing some college to sort of satisfy that requirement. And the other nice thing, sort of around careers, is that like Heather was talking about, because of the flexibility of homeschooling, is that you can just start gaining work experience and internships very early. My daughter homeschooled and is big into horses, and so she was spending a lot of time on at barns, just working and learning how to take care of horses, and that was part of her homeschooling. And I don't know if she's going to go into that down the road, but you have the flexibility to do that. Heard stories, certainly, kids getting into tech fields where they just like are like geniuses at this stuff and like just learned it just doing things, when they were in high school, and had real skills that people valued and could move right into a job. So there's internships, all sorts of stuff, and then sometimes we have kids or kids we've known who's homeschool who take kind of like do travel or sort of gap year, if you've ever heard of that concept, at the end of what would be their high school years, where they might there's actual sort of established companies that will help you have gap year experiences, but then some people design their own sort of gap year where they have a strong interest or just want some time to be independent before kind of moving on to whatever comes next, and so they'll take that option as well. So there's everything, and just because I know a lot of people in our area end up going to college. Homeschoolers have been accepted at every college you've ever heard of. So it's not really a oh, did they homeschool, did they not. It's really just like how have you prepared yourself to like do college level stuff. And some of the kids that we've worked with, we had some work study kids from Princeton University that worked with some of our young people. And the first one we ever worked with he was a student at Princeton University, had never set foot in school his entire life. He had just been doing crazy stuff, like traveling around the world and doing whatever. And just like that traditional school was not the path he took to get there. So yeah, every option is open, and it's can just be a fulfilling and meaningful path through teenage years. So, all right, I'm going to shut up and let's go to the Q&A. So, Liz, if you want to start feeding in some questions,
Sure thing. I'm just going back up to the top of my notes here, trying to look at when they came in. A lot of good questions. And a handful of them, especially in the beginning, is asking about the status of the proposed bill 5825 for New Jersey, the annual mandatory notice and proof of proper education.
All right, Heather, you up?
Yeah. So I'm in a couple of groups, and we're working on talking with our local representatives. We can't really guess what will happen, but historically, New Jersey has come out pretty strongly against these types of bills, and it looks like that's where we're headed. So we can't predict what's going to happen, but there's a good chance they're just not going to move forward.
And piggybacking off of that, someone is asking, will the lack of notification requirement change if those homeschool bills pass?
Yes, I think that's part of what it is that you would then be asked to report to the local school district. I think that's one of the requirements they're asking for, which may or may not be something that the local school district isn't interested in as well. So we'll see how that goes. And but if you're interested in homeschooling at all, I implore you to join a couple of groups and get out there, meet with your local representatives, and just keep up with where the bills are going. I'm sure at some point there may be some fun standing outside of the the Trenton buildings and protesting. So if you want to do that, it's probably going to be an option in the fall.
Before I get to the next question, I just want to mention somebody had asked about sharing the resources and being able to view this meeting again. And yes, the recording will be on the YouTube channel, and everybody who is registered will get an email with the links that I put in the chat. So that will be reiterated for you. The next question is somebody's asking if they have a gifted child and want him to register for the NNAT. Is there such a thing as a homeschooler in New Jersey registered as a gifted and talented student?
No. So, Joel, do you want to?
I had to look it up. I had not heard of the NNAT before. Yeah, so I mean, just testing in general, I think homeschoolers, if they want to do that, can do that, whether it's SATs or other sort of standardized tests. I don't think like I was a teacher in Pennsylvania, and we would have designated people like my daughter and son were had like a gifted IEP, and so that was like a state thing through the public school district. There's no such sort of designation, like state official designations for homeschoolers, from what I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention the next question that I feel like is somewhat related with that is someone's asking if you need to solicit a state level proctor to test your child to skip grades if they're ahead.
So as a homeschooler, you are completely out of the system. there are no grades, there are no tests. You can put your child, you can do whatever grade level work you want to do.
Mhm.
There are groups you can join, fantastic groups, but what that also means is for the child who's gifted and ahead, um, they are able to take any class that's available online, etc.,
Mhm.
um, that fits their needs. My oldest daughter was super interested in rigorous, academics in middle school. She's, really into science, and that's what she wanted to do. And so she started at the community college at age 13. She started taking her first in-person classes and doing that. It fulfilled that need. She did very well in her classes. She got college credit. She fulfilled some of her high school credits as well that way. Um, so there are a lot of options. There is no, the state does not
Yeah.
tell you where your child is going to be placed. It's up
Yeah.
to you.
You can kind of move on when you want. Like I had a young man that I worked with this year who, if he had been in high school, I think would still have had a year to go, like would have had a senior year to go, but was just like ready to do the next thing. And so, the community colleges are open enrollment. And so as, instead of, just basically doing his quote unquote senior year of high school, full-time college student at the community college in the nursing program. And you can just do that. So yeah, so it's really open. And then I've heard of other kids who like, you know, um, based on their chronological age, maybe would have been done with high school, but just didn't
Mhm.
feel ready to do the next thing, and so they just like stayed in high school for another year. Like just conceptually. I mean, there's no state you have to register to and say that, hey, I'm still in high school. It's just like, you can kind of decide when the timing is right for you, depending on the kid and what they want to do.
Another question somebody's asking is, how might homeschooling work for a child with a significant disability or disabilities?
Mm.
Yeah. So again, in New Jersey, since the schools can choose not to offer services, it's definitely something you might want to look into if you're hoping for like occupational therapy, speech, and things like that. Usually, those are done through the school system.
Mhm.
You can always have it done privately, out of pocket through your insurance and things like that. But a lot of people find it just more cost effective to go through the school system. So it's definitely something you want to look deeply into before you move forward.
Yeah, like we've had a number of kids I've worked with who, have like dyslexia or other, sort of, learning differences, that they were, working with somebody just privately. It wasn't through the school district. I mean, you can get, sort of therapy that way. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not cheap. So I think sometimes people, sort of go through the school to get some of that. And that would involve getting like an IEP, or if I have probably an IEP. You ever heard of that term? And it's like a process to get identified and tested through the school, and it takes a little bit of time, but yeah.
Going back to the comment before about the students at the community colleges, somebody had asked if you could define open enrollment.
Oh, open enrollment. So it's just, there's no like admissions, like you have to get in. It's like you just go to the website and like put your name in, some other information, and you send an email like, I'd like to enroll as a student, and then like a day later they send you back like, congratulations, you're a college student at Mercer County Community College, or whatever it is. So there's not like, and often, it doesn't require like particular educational background, right? So often like the community college is asking for like a list of classes that you did in high school. But like for instance, the kid I worked with last year who went to the nursing program a year early, he wouldn't have had all of the stuff that a typical person who had stayed in high school for 4 years and did it all, on his transcript. But it's not a barrier to that. I probably have a box to check, just like we need a transcript, but it doesn't really matter. what's on that. So that's what we mean by open enrollment. That anyone, at any point for Mercer's, I think the youngest is 16, but you can just start taking classes there, and you can do that either as a college student. Um, or you can do it. They have a program at Mercer. It's called different things at different community colleges for high school dual enrollment. At Mercer, it's called the Jumpstart program. So as a high school student, you can take 2 classes per semester um, through Mercer County Community College, and they still consider you like a high school student as opposed to a college student.
Also going off of the community colleges, somebody's asking what community colleges in New Jersey offers courses to students that are 15 years old. And they had mentioned, because Mercer does not, as you mentioned, Mercer is 16 and up.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's correct. Mercer has a pretty hard 16 and over. I believe Middlesex County starts at 15, and Raritan Valley Community College didn't have an age at the time when my daughter enrolled. And so we provided a transcript. She took some tests. They had some testing, and she had an interview. I said, sure. So I think each community college runs a little bit differently.
Yeah, and if you live close to the river, Bucks County Community College, I don't think has a minimum age if you're near there, and they have some online classes too. So if transportation is an issue.
The next one is, does New Jersey have family grants or individualized grants for homeschool materials or enrichment activities such as lacrosse?
No.
Mm-hmm. No.
That was a quick one.
Yeah. There's, although you may have seen, not to, I mean, just sort of nationally, there are many states that are starting to pass, voucher programs or what they call ESAs, educational saving accounts, or scholarships and that homeschoolers can access and use for a variety of educational stuff. None of the states around us, certainly not New Jersey or Pennsylvania, New York, not Delaware, no. So Maryland, no. Well, maybe Maryland. So it's not. I don't think it's coming to New Jersey anytime soon. But there's a movement nationally for some of those programs.
On that, are there any nationally accredited umbrella schools that would be accepted by the state of New Jersey if this homeschooling bill that was referred to earlier were to pass in the fall?
So that's a tough one to say because we don't know fully what will pass and what the requirements completely will be once it does. Usually bills go through some modification before being adopted. But basically, this bill is calling for the school system, the public school system, and your local school to be the oversight. So they would be asking the teachers, administrators, and your local school system to be the ones that would look over your portfolio and sign off.
I wonder if the question asking me like things like Clonmara and like those umbrella schools
I
that
was
like.
wondering the same.
Yeah.
But with the bill, I don't think it would matter. I
We
think
wouldn't accept that then.
no. They're asking all homeschoolers have to register with their district
Mm-hmm.
and with their school specifically, and then that school would be the sign off person point.
The next one is, what do you suggest a student or family does when a VOTEC refuses a student or tells them the student must go for a full day?
So the VOTECs are pretty much all of the ones here in New Jersey are applications. So you have to apply and get in. They have limited amounts of spots. So if the program requires a full day, yeah, then I guess you're gonna look into the program. Each program is different, and we have like science and technology magnet schools as well as different types of VOTEC in different counties. Basically, that if you want to enroll, you have to kind of follow their rules.
This one is asking, can you re-enroll your child back into public school after homeschooling?
Yes.
Yeah.
K through 8. We'll say K through 9. After that, high school gets a little bit difficult. In New Jersey, the high schools have a credit system, and it's up to the high school, the individual high school, whether or not they want to accept credits from another institution. That includes some private schools and public, private online as well. The school can decide that maybe they don't feel that class aligns well with what they offer. And so you don't get credit for, let's say, your English or your math. And they would ask you to do credit recovery. They can be difficult sometimes, but the majority of schools that I've spoken to and worked with are pretty friendly and will tell you what they want to see in a transcript and will accept most things and try to get kids where they need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a public school. They have to take, like, if you show
Right.
up as an 11th grader and you've been homeschooling your whole life and you're like, I want to go to the high school, they have to. I mean, you're allowed to go. It's just like more of like a credit issue, like Heather was talking about. They might be like, sure, you can come, but we're going to consider you a ninth grader. We're not going to take any of your homeschooling stuff. That's pretty rare. We're not going to use any school district names, but like it's really like district by district. We've had people, districts, kids that we worked with who went just for their senior year and had homeschooled their whole life, and it was some back and forth, but eventually got credit for all the homeschooling stuff they did through ninth through 11th grade, did senior year at the high school, and then graduated. And we've had other ones who went to districts and they were just like, nope, zero credits. You are a 17-year-old freshman, and things like that. So yeah, it just depends on the district, and definitely, if you're considering it for any part of high school, like if you were in high school for ninth grade thinking to homeschool 10th grade, but there's a chance you might want to go back in 11th, start that conversation early with the school and just see what that reentry would look like.
Someone else is asking, what's the youngest age a child can take the PSAT?
I would check the College Board uh, page for that. It's a private company that issues that. I looked it up while Joel was chatting, and it looks like eighth and ninth grade is usually the earliest on their website. But I'm sure if you give them a call and say, oh, my 9-year-old is fantastic at tests, they just have to take this test, they might like to take your money.
Mhm.
Someone is asking, at what age is it best to start keeping a portfolio? I thought it should be in high school, but they want more information.
Yeah, I mean, in general, in New Jersey, a portfolio is unnecessary. If you are thinking you'll homeschool until high school and then they'll go ahead to high school, the high school will ask for a middle school transcript and a report card. I've enrolled two of my children into high school after homeschooling the whole time, and I think they just want it to put it in the file. It's not, they understand you were homeschooling. It's not like they're
Yeah.
wanting to see a big portfolio of a lot of your work. They just want to have a sense of the the level of work that you did so that they can place you in classes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so middle school maybe.
Yeah, I would say if the young person is planning to go like to an art school or a music school for college, like a lot of times the admissions for that will have some sort of portfolio piece for the art, or they'll have some sort of performance, requirement for like music programs. So, um, and sometimes even we had one of our young people who went to a music technical high school this year, after being at that PLC. They had like a performance, and I think needed to submit a recording of some of their music, and so yeah, keeping some of that stuff, but not like just daily academic work. Yeah, probably not.
All right. Someone is asking, can students participate in school sports if they're homeschooled?
Generally, no, but it is district by district. There are some areas that are like, yep, absolutely, and there are some that are not as open to it.
I'm gonna I'll go on a limb and just say it probably depends on how good at baseball you are. We had,
Correct.
we had a young person we worked with who was a homeschooler, and he was able to play on the baseball team, but he was also pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
We've yeah. I think generally though, it's not usually allowed.
This one is for you specifically, Heather. She says, or they say, I thought you said you enrolled your children in high school after homeschooling. If so, can you share in what instances someone may want to do that?
Okay, so yeah, two out of my three. My oldest homeschooled all the way through high school, went to Princeton Learning Cooperative, and then went on to her dream college. And she, very happy. Didn't have any trouble getting in, getting merit. So just if you're worried about getting into a super competitive school, they're very open to homeschoolers. And so she got into a fantastic school, and she's doing great. My middle daughter was a ballet dancer and very intensely into ballet, and then COVID hit and lots of other things. And that led her to the decision to wanting to uh, just see what the local high school was about. We moved during COVID as well. So she wanted to try it out. She went to the high school. She's done fantastically and she's happy there. It's a smaller high school. Um, my youngest also homeschooled all the way through eighth grade. He went to Princeton Learning Cooperative, had a lovely time. Okay, between all of us, is not a huge secret, but a little bit of a secret. He'll probably go back to Princeton Learning Cooperative, but he wants to give the public high school a try because his sister likes it so much. And he's like, he's just wanting to see what it's all about. I figured, why not? If you want to check it out, this is the time to do it when you can just go right in with everybody else who's pretty new. Yeah. And the instances that you might want to do that, homeschooling can be taxing, right? So, as a parent, if you're the one always doing the schooling and stuff, your kid maybe is just like, hey, I want to go to the homeschool, the high school. I don't want to homeschool anymore. That would be the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think oftentimes young people, like I have a son, like my daughter did homeschooling middle school and then went to high school. Mostly it was for the bigger social scene. A lot of the homeschooling groups tend to be smaller and, um, kind of smaller social piece of it. Yeah. And then like my son who's homeschooling currently, um, we pulled him out in fifth grade. Um, yeah. His idea has always been he's planning to go to high school when he gets to ninth grade. And for some kids, like if sports are a big thing, or if being part of a huge theater program or a big band program, that's in the United States, that's where those things happen. And so sometimes just like access to those kinds of things. Um, and I think for various kids and families, like sort of wearing the homeschooling badge, some kids are like, yes, that's who I am, that's what it is. And for other kids, it can be hard. It's like all the other kids, a lot of the other kids are over there. I just want to do what everyone else is doing, and it's hard to like not, sort of be in the for some of them. So
All good, all good information. Someone else is asking if you have a resource page for the kids who are homeschooling from the beginning.
That same resource page we posted earlier has all levels.
Okay, and that'll be all from the links in the chat. That'll all be sent out to everybody who registered. So
yep.
it'll just coming your way. And then this one, it looks like we're going back to the issue of the bill that is in discussion right now, saying if my homeschool was part of a private online academy, I would still have the local school over me.
I don't think so. So if you're like the law is at least I think what it would be is like you just have to be enrolled in a school. So if you were in a private high school or private school in New Jersey wouldn't consider you a homeschooler. They would just consider you as part of this private school. So if you were part of a private on like there's like PA like cyber charter schools, you're technically enrolled in a school even though you might do that from home. I think they
I,
probably just wouldn't have anything to do with it, right?
I think you have to be enrolled in an accredited private school or the public
Mm.
school. And if
Yeah.
that's the case, then, that's fine. Um, if it's like a co-op or a homeschool program, We're not sure how those will be treated, but you'll probably be treated like a homeschooler, and you'll just have to register with your local district.
Mhm.
And you'll probably still be allowed to do that thing.
Okay, that's all that I'm seeing, which is fantastic. Someone is saying, and I'm going to say this so wrong, they use Acellus,
You got it.
Acellus.
First
Whoa,
try. Look at
that's exciting.
that.
So,
Acellus is an online school. I believe it is accredited. I think their unaccredited version is the Power School, Power Homeschool, and Acellus is the accredited version. So that's considered an online school, and you're not homeschooling. So that would be, you would be fine.
Yeah. And I just put in the chat. So that's kind of like the pulling it all together. So a lot of the links that we put in there are sort of all on that page. So if you go to that, it's just a page that we put together in Canva that has a lot of the stuff, various co-ops in the area, and just lots of things.
Oh, and I noticed in the chat somebody mentioned prom. Homeschoolers have proms, huge ones. There's one right at the beach, and it's lovely. And yeah, so homeschoolers have all the fun things that public schoolers get.
Mm-hmm. Well, look at that. Almost 8. We're very good timing. Just 5 minutes. That's
yeah,
good.
everybody was prepared and ready with their questions, and you guys have great answers. Clearly, you've been doing this for a while. You know what's up.
For a little while. Yes.
Oh, let's see. And we're getting thank yous, which is lovely. And then somebody is asking, is a program like Mia Academy okay? I believe they have a K to 12. I believe they're accredited as well.
So I know a lot of this is about the bill, the homeschooling bills, and I'm not an attorney or, like an expert on the bills, but you can just take a look at some of the language in the bills, and it seems like they just want some oversight. And I'm guessing if it's an accredited online program, that would be considered a private online school, and you're probably fine with that. I'm not sure if part of the bill is that they want to see your child in person or have some other way to check up on them. But right, exactly. I see in the chat something about a wellness check. There are multiple bills actually. That's a separate bill, and so keep your eyes on them, just because it is intrusive, and yeah.
Okay, a lot of thank yous. Appreciate your time. Thank you for all of us. Thank you all for everybody on here joining in. I am learned so much, and I'm very excited to share it with more patrons.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, lots of thank yous. So I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Yep.
Thanks, Liz. Good night, Joel.